Hi there, happy Monday. Thank you for joining me here tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time where we can relax and craft together for about an hour, and I work on projects from beginning to end so you guys can be part of the whole process. So tonight we are continuing the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along, and we are working on that Happy Trails block. There we go, a bajillion little pieces. So we did actually finish the sewn part of the block last week. It's still trying to curl. I need to press this guy a little bit better. It ended up being a little shorter. I gotta check my seam allowance. It was a little wider this way, so when I'm just sewing two pieces of fabric together, I'm not doing quite big enough of a seam allowance, but when I'm sewing big bulky pieces together like the rows, I'm sewing a little too much. So that's why this way is a little wider than on top. But what we have to do yet on this is add the horse. So we have the horse applique here, and see, here's what it looks like here. So you can use leather or felt. We are going to use a product called Kraft-tex, and I did put a link to it here if you guys wanted to check it out. I have a whole roll of the white colored. There's a sample pack that comes with just a lot of neutral colors. I think it has white and it has some brown and gray and like a chocolate and I think black too. And I think all of those are intended to look a little bit like leather. So if you get this wet, see right now it just looks like paper, but if you get this wet and you crinkle it up a little bit, it will look a whole lot like leather, even though it's really a paper product. But it's a product that doesn't really rip. You can cut it and you can sew it, and it's kind of like the back of jeans. Like sometimes it has that little kind of papery, leathery patch, but it's not leather, it's kind of a paper. It's very similar to this. So it should be able to go through the wash. We are cutting some fringe. I'm a little worried about how that's going to last through the wash, but I figure, we'll give it a try anyway. I wanted to use this white color because I have white in all of my blocks, and I didn't put any white in this block so far, so we're gonna have like a white little pony in front there. So that's the plan for tonight. I think I have an idea on how to get the template onto here because you're not gonna be able to trace through this. And I didn't want to make a whole plastic template for it. So we're going to give the freezer paper a try. And you know what? I don't think I linked to the freezer paper, so I'll do that when we're done here on the YouTube thing as well. But it's just plain freezer paper from the grocery store. All right, going to flip you guys around. Okay, here we are. All right. You guys, I need to grab another glass of water. You think I would learn last time. I'll be right back here. Sorry about that. Okay, sheesh, Louise. So you could trace with carbon paper, Paula, but I would be a little worried about getting it kind of dirty. I think for the darker colors, it wouldn't really matter. And it'd probably come off in water. But what I'm going to try is freezer paper. So I have not tried freezer paper on Kraft-tex before, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. So this is freezer paper just from the grocery store. It's Reynolds freezer paper. And what's fun, it's just to wrap meat or whatever. But like, what's fun is they even have a Kraft section on the back of this, so I just think it's kind of fun. So they know what we're doing with this. All right, so what I'm gonna do, there's a glossy side to this and a matte side. We are going to trace on to the matte side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just grab a pencil and trace this down. This way I don't need to make a photocopy. We do not need that much paper. And I didn't want to make a whole template because well, I guess I don't have a plastic template stuff, but if I would, normally when I make a template, I just get like a postcard, like a thick paper. You can use like a manila folder or something too. And I usually make templates out of that. But if I would do that, I'd kind of have to do this process anyway. I would have to trace onto something first. Oh, you line your fridge glass shelves with it. Oh, that's a good idea, Peter. Oh, the fridge. That's on my project list. I almost have an empty fridge again. So you guys, I'm going to be out of town Wednesday through Monday. So Wednesday through Monday, I will not be on. The refrigerator reminded me of that because we're trying to eat everything in the fridge before we head out. I am visiting my brother and his wife and checking out their new home that they just got. So that plant behind me at the beginning here, that's a housewarming gift for them. So if you're watching, don't tell them. But I haven't been down to see them yet, so I'm excited. I might try to pop on here and there, but I won't be doing our evening things like this. All right, you know what? I think I'm going to draw these lines into, based on the instructions, it's sort of implied that you could do your own lines here, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to just draw them on quick anyway because I'm here, and that'll just make it easier later to trim all these. So we actually have to sew down the middle here, and we're not getting too much space to do that, but I think it'll be just enough. I don't actually have to cut all the way into here. These are just my lines to do it. I like how they're not all perfect. They're all different angles and everything. This doesn't take that much longer. Drawing those out. Okay, so there is our freezer paper template. So I'm going to scooch this guy out of the way. And I'm going to just quickly trim. I have my paper scissors here. I'm going to trim, leaving a little edge to this. I don't want to trim on the actual edge until I have it attached to my Kraft-tex paper. So I was talking about the Kraft-tex earlier, and one of the really cool things, I did not do this, but now I kind of wish I did. If you get the Kraft-tex wet, so just run it under some water, and if you crumple it, all of those crumples will stay. So that will happen over time as I wash this, but you can pre-do that by getting it wet and then crumpling it up, and that's when it really starts looking like kind of worn leather. And that might have been neat to do that before this, but it'll just look nice and crisp and white right now. All right. There we go, our two pieces. All right, so here's my Kraft-tex. Like I said, I got this giant roll of it. There is little, like 8.5 by 11 little sample sheets you can get of it, and so that's probably a better idea. I just happen to have a big roll, so it's awfully curvy too. The sample sheets that you can get, they're flat, so that would be way easier than that. So I'm just gonna cut off a little piece to make sure it's wide enough. All right, I need to go about right there. Leslie Ann, you decided to give the block a go. Nice. All right, we'll go to about there. You know what? Since I have my iron on and right here, I'm gonna, geez, I don't need a rubber band around that. That's gonna stay. But I'm gonna just heat this up and try and see if I can press this out a little bit. So you can see one side has a little bit more texture than the other. But again, once you get this wet or it goes through the wash, it's gonna have that crumpled look all over it. So it's not too big of an issue that this is curvy. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult to work with. But it seems like it's getting a little flatter here once it warms up. Had to preheat a little bit there. Okay, well that's good anyway because we need it. We need to use some heat to attach our piece here. And I think I'm going to do it on that kind of smoother side. Again, I don't think it really matters all that much, although the textured side's pretty as well, but I think we're going to do the white side. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that shiny side down, and we'll do it one at a time. I'm going to just press this template onto here, and that glossy, because the one side is glossy, it should just stick on there, which it did. This is awesome. So on fabric, like I said, I haven't done this on Kraft-tex before with the freezer paper, but on fabric, this just peels off like nothing when you're done. But it'll stick on and you can reuse it over and over again until it just gets too dirty. So it's just kind of nice. Oh, your block came, Kathy says your block came 7.5-inch square. So that means that you are probably making your seam allowances when you sew too small. So you could try cutting out like 12 1-inch squares again and sew with a little bit more seam allowance. Like, you know, you're probably a little too skinny if you do a hair more, closer to that 1/4 inch. Don't do so scant. You might get a little closer to the 6.5-inch. So I suspect that's what's going on. All right, here's my second piece. You guys, this is going to go speedy fast today, I think. All right, here we go. Our 2 pieces. All we got to do now is cut this out, and so we're on. I think I'm going to use my super duper fancy nice scissors for this, just to get some of the detail. But I'm sure my paper scissor would probably be fine too. But any excuse to use the nice one. This is a fabric scissors, but you know, I'm going to use it now anyway. So I'm just now is when I'm cutting on the line. So see the freezer paper, we left that edge. Now I'm cutting directly on the line, and this is our actual edge. So this is where we want to take our time and make this real pretty. This is going to be raw edge, so this edge will be exposed. Yeah, Kathy, I was definitely not suggesting doing this whole block again. Oh my gosh. I would cry. Actually, it would be really fun to do this block, but large, so it's like a whole quilt. All right, I'm going to just separate this. Yeah, I think I'm going to come down the other ear and then come back and do this little area in the middle of the ears. The freezer paper is just so nice because you can trace through it super easy. And it just comes off really easy and doesn't leave any residue, and you can reuse it. And actually it's coming off right now. I may have to, just because I'm bending the Kraft-tex a little, so it's wanting to pop off. Ah! All right, I need to press it down again. On the fabric, that doesn't happen because fabric moves. This Kraft-tex is pretty stiff. So I just heated it up again and it stuck back down. Maybe if I get rid of a little excess here. Just trying to go through all these shapes. Oh yeah, it's holding down again. Got a little funny bump in here. All right, and these top little bits. You know what? if you are good with an X-Acto blade, this would be a good time to use it too. An X-Acto blade would actually work really well on this to get around curves and stuff. But, you know, if you haven't done that before, be careful. Those buggers are sharp. And they can just slip. Between his eyes is called the pole. Interesting. I did not know that. Nolene. I like me some good learning. New words. Okay. Just trying to get into this little nook here. And I think we did it. That looks pretty good. Looks like a horse. All right, so I'm gonna just, oh, see, it's just coming right off. Zoop, easy. So there is our piece. Man, it's getting staticky though. So that turned out super great. Could still use the texture side. You'd just be facing the other way. But here we go. So this is when it looks nice and smooth. This will get like crumply and some wrinkles in there. That will give it a neat look later once I wash it. Yeah, Gretchen, they're kind of like scalpels. Yeah, exactly like that. Except they have a really pointy tip. And it's good for going... Oh, between his ears is the pole. Oh, this right here is the pole. Oh, interesting. All right, doing the bottom, get that guy, get that big chunk off. Let's do that same on the top here. So I'm gonna cut this outside shape. And then I'll cut all these fringes. What will be fun is we can bend all these fringes up a little bit, but I'm gonna wait till we sew it on before doing that. I am gonna cut them though before we sew it, just because I think it'll be hard to get my scissors in there afterwards. I'm gonna come up here. I think I'm gonna come down this way. All right, there we are. Scooch all this. So now I'm going to trim all these little bits. You can use a small scissors, except for this scissors is awesome, so I'm gonna just keep using this. This will get all these little snips real good in one snip. So I'm kind of going towards the middle. I think there's plenty to do a little single seam down there, so I'm not gonna worry about that one's kind of big or small. I'm gonna skip that one. I'm not gonna worry about leaving too much of a gap here. So this is the part I'm a little worried about with the Kraft-tex. I have not tested the Kraft-tex. I've gotten the Kraft-tex wet and kind of abused it in water, but I have not run it through the washer, although I know you can, and that will help give it that leather texture. Although I've not done like a fringe like this and like run it through the washer. So we'll see how this stands up. But I can always applique some more on some other time. Okay, it is kind of wanting to come off a little again, so I'm just gonna give it some quick heat so that freezer paper stays on a little bit longer. Let's get all these top hairs. Okay, and on this edge. This is gonna be cute. I think for my mom, she had some gray but almost white leather. Like it was just like a pale gray leather that she found on, I don't know, some old bag or something. And she used that for her horse on this block, and I think it looks so cool. All right, there we are. So there is our little hairs. So I'm going to just pull off that that freezer paper, and look, we got our perfect fringe. We don't have any pencil marks, no nothing on here. Ah, it's cute. Okay, so there is a picture. I mean, we can just assume it's like that. Look at all that texture. That is cute. Okay, so on our instructions here, it does show placement of it, but you know, we can pretty much figure that out, right? So it looks like it bleeds over a little bit here, but it looks like this is kind of in line with that ear. So, and the bottoms are aligned. So let's go based on that. Ooh, and Wonder Clips would come in perfectly handy here. So I'm having it go across, but actually, you know what? I was gonna sew the mane on right away, but we need to sew the horse on first, but I just want to see what it's gonna look like. So here, we can still clip it down at the bottom, it looks like. But look, it's gonna be so pretty. And once I poof these up a little bit, you know, look at in the shadow, we'll have, once I poof them up, it'll have like kind of a shadow, like you'll see the edge of it, like a scattered edge for the shadow. So that'll be neat. But first, let's set this to the side. We need to attach this. All right, so let's start out with giving this guy a little bit more heat. He looks like he's trying hard to stay flat here. And maybe he just won't. I didn't spritz it with water or anything. I could do that, but I'm just not going to worry about it really. Once we get that horse on, I'm thinking the bottom area will hold a little bit better. It's pretty wonky. Yeah, it's definitely wider than it is taller, so that's telling me different things to look out for when I'm doing my seam allowances in the future. Okay, let's take a peek at this now. Let's just place it. Does it feel like it's going to be hard to quilt? I mean, it's not going to be super smooth to quilt, so I think we'll have to err on the side of like maybe some bigger gestures. As long as we can, if my presser foot isn't pressed totally down, if it's like floating a little bit above, and we get our hands moving, I think we'll be okay. I'm not gonna quilt through the horse, so I'll go around the horse. But the rest, yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Oh, I like him popping out there. So I was excited about having a white horse because I always wanted some white in the blocks, but I didn't want just white for the sky. I wanted something textured, you know, because otherwise why do a ton of different squares if I'm just going to do a white bar? So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use all pattern fabric, so I'm glad I'm bringing that white back in. All right, and I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Oh, my horse looks a little taller than her horse. Oh, it's probably just because my it's shrunk up this way. But I'm going to just eyeball it, place it about right here. I think that looks pretty good. Yep, I think that looks nice. I'm going to clip it on the bottom, and I think I'll just throw another clip in there so it's got more than one point of contact so it doesn't pivot on me. And we're gonna move that over. We're going to sew along the edge here. So with the Kraft-tex, be careful, like my Wonder Clip is gonna make a little mark there, but again, once this gets crumpled and goes through the wash, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. And I am kind of clipping right on the edge. All right. Let's head to the machine. So I don't think I want to start with a leader. I think I might back tack this instead. So I'm going to take this guy off. And you know, here's an opportunity to switch colors. You are going to see this stitching. So it's a neat opportunity if you wanted to do a different color, like, you know, like a pop of a color would be kind of neat. Here, I'm just going to use my cream color thread that I have been using, so it's just going to be kind of invisible. So we're going to go slow because there's a lot of angles and stuff in here, so we're just going to go slow to try and get them all. I'm going to start out just back tacking, which is just going forward, and then backward a stitch or two, and that kind of locks it in place. I'm going to just trim these a little bit. All right. Oh yeah, Pat, that's probably perfectly fine. Perfectly fine idea. All right, now I'm going to take this off now that I'm tacked down. We'll leave that other one. All right, I'm going about maybe a little more than a 1/16 of an inch in. Does it say don't go in the seam allowance? I don't think I need to. 7" around the straight stitch around the edges to secure place. Yeah, it doesn't say anything. I'm going to do mine in the seam allowance so that it gets, when it gets sewn in, it gets kind of covered up a little bit. It'll be bulky there. I'll definitely have to press in the direction that where the Kraft-tex is leaning. All right, every once in a while I'm going to just pick up my foot, and then a clear foot would be really good for this. I'm just kind of picking it up and turning it if I can't see where I'm going. Yeah, we'll definitely lose some of the neck by putting them in the seam allowance, but I'm guessing that's kind of built into it. What patterns do not include seam allowances. You're right. It does not include the seam allowance. So we should have added a seam allowance on the bottom. Well, that's kind of a bummer. Well, I'm going to just keep going how we did here. I do kind of like where his ears touch. I like that it's right here and not going higher into the mountain here. So maybe I'm okay with it. So we will lose a little bit of the neck. Yeah, I'm just reading the pattern again, and it does say seam allowances are not included. So what that really is meant for is if you're planning on like needle turn appliquing the horse, like if you are not using leather, you're using fabric, and you want that nice needle turn edge where you do need the seam allowance that you flip under, that's a notification of, hey, this doesn't have the seam allowance, so remember to put it on. You know, and in theory, that could have also meant add a seam allowance here, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she added it in or not. So you will lose 1/4 of an inch, but I think we'll be, yeah, we'll lose 1/4 of an inch of our main too, but it looks like she has some of the main sewn in. I don't know. It's hard to know. I probably should have added another 1/4 of an inch on the bottom of both pieces. So it's up to you guys. If you don't do it, it'll look like this. If you do, it will be a little taller. Oops. Losing all my wonder clips everywhere. All right, I think I need one more stitch in there before I turn for the ear. There we go. So I have my needle down when I pivot, because then I can pivot on the needle like that. You know, now that I think of it, you know, it's been a while since I've used Kraft-tex. I would have it might have been better to do a little bit bigger stitch length. This paper doesn't tear very easily. However, if you do a bunch of holes really close next to each other, it might want to, you know, tear around that perforation, if anywhere. So maybe a little bit bigger stitches would be the way to go, but we're this far into it now. All right, I'm gonna back tack again, hold it in place. I got a little close to the edge. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. I got kind of close to the edge and a little part, but oh well. So right here, I didn't go over very well, but we're gonna just leave it. But that's cute. It looks like leather when it, like stitched leather a little bit, doesn't it? You know, like on those leather bits that have the thread kind of going on the outside of it with more leather. Or like waxed thread. It kind of looks like that a little bit. All right, let's, oh wow, Pat, that is such an old little horsey. All right, so let's put this guy on now. I'm gonna get above so we can see it again. Oh, it looks so pretty, this horse. All right, I'm just placing him. It was a little over the edge here, and again, this will all get cut off in the seam allowance, which is a bummer. I should have added a little bit more. I think we're fine though. All right, I'm gonna clip it right there. We'll clip it like that. Okay, and so I'm gonna start on the top here. I'm not gonna start all the way at the top though. I don't wanna go in that fringe, so I'm gonna start right here, and I'll do a little back tack. Or I could do where I tie it on the back. I think we'll do it that way. So I'm not gonna back tack just because that's pretty visible. You can see where you back tack. I'm gonna do that thing where I just start there and then sew all the way down, but I pull the thread through to the back and tie it down. We've done that a couple other times here before. We need some way so the thread won't fall out, won't tear out. So you can back tack, or you can kind of do what I'm going to do here, which is I'm going to pull the threads to the back and tie it. Let's see if we can get started in a good place. All right there, and I'm going to just go down the center line where I haven't cut. I'm going to do my best to do that. All right, so I'm not back tacking. I'm just stitching down the line. Oh, hopefully I'm stitching down the line. I feel like I'm getting close to my cut lines. Oh, no, we're fine. All right, down here I'm going to back tack, though. That part won't be seen because it's in the seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to pull those threads to the back. But here we are. It's cute. Oh gosh, I can't even see anything here. There's so much clutter back here. All right, I think here's my thread. Yeah, so I'm just gonna tug on that, and that will pull the thread from the front. Just trying to grab that loop with my stiletto. There we go. So there we go. I pulled the thread that was hanging out in the front. I pulled it to the back. And now I'm going to take those two threads, if I can find them again. Here we go. And I'm going to tie them in a knot. A couple knots. And this is what's securing the thread now. So it should not come out. Do one more in there. Okay, let's snip those. All right, there's our horsey. So I just want to poof up his little fringes a little bit. You know, I mean, we'll sew them in again, but I just wanted to see it kind of frazzled. So this is the part that I'm curious to see how it handles going through the wash and stuff, but we'll see. There we go. That's kind of fun. Okay, you guys, I think this is a finished block. It's looking cute. So this one will definitely have to add a border when we start quilting it because it did end up a little bit short. But here we go. Yeah, it would have been nice to have added that seam allowance because it'll actually be kind of close to this. But you know what? Since we are a little short here, I'll probably sew with like the smallest seam allowance that I can get away with down here. So I might only lose an 1/8 inch down here. I might only sew with like an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then actually we might be the right size if I just sew an 1/8 inch seam allowance. So yeah, so maybe we'll only lose an 1/8. So it'll still look nice. All right, you guys, I think we're going to call it an early evening. We got this guy done quick. So, well, I'll flip you around and then we can chat a little bit. Hello. So let me show you this first. Okay, here we are. Oh yeah, that horsey pops off of there. That white, yeah, the white was a good idea, I think. That really kind of, it stays with my color scheme here, that like light colored color scheme, but it still pops off of it, I think. And when you get up close, then that's when you can really see the texture of it and all. Fun! I like it. Yay! So you guys, tomorrow will be my last time here for a little while. I won't be on Wednesday through Monday of next week. Monday is a question mark, but it will be after like an 8-hour drive, so I'm guessing Monday's a no-go. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for sure I won't be here. I might do some posts here and there, but I won't be doing the lives, so keep an eye out for that. So that means we only have one more day, so tomorrow. So I don't know, we'll either, maybe I'll pick up a little project that we have hanging out here, or maybe somewhere in the Splendid Sampler book, maybe there's one block that looks like it's a one-day block. That would be a good one to do. Oh, we did paint some Easter eggs. Here, I'll show you guys. We only, there's only 3 left of the dozen that we did, so we got all goofy and tie-dye. We just basically got the plain, like, you know, that Paz or whatever it is, that food coloring stuff, and then at like 8 o'clock last night, we're like, we gotta make Easter eggs. We bought the stuff. But all right, you guys, thanks again for joining me. I will get this up on Penguin and Fish Movies, and I will see you guys again tomorrow here on Penguin Fish page on Facebook. Have a great evening. See you later.